I'm David Hadd with Webster Bank. We're headquartered in Waterbury, Connecticut. We're considered a super regional. As a matter of fact, Jim Smith, John Ciulo was just recognized an American banker this month. We're primarily focused on financial services banking, heavy in HSA, health savings accounts, and commercial with retail and private bank. So my responsibility there is Senior Vice President, Director of Continuous Improvement. I came on board at Webster 3 years ago and have been focused on transforming their really operations, processes, and trying to digitize for efficiency and effectiveness as much as possible. Recently we've been driving a lot of lending processes for straight-through processing and have done results, have reduced our cycle time to decision more than 50% in small business lending, consumer home equity lines of credit, and now we're commencing down the path to digitize the origination process. Our challenge is we're growing, and one of the biggest challenges we have is the ability to address our volumes while maintaining high customer quality, maintaining their expectations, while keeping our efficiency ratio that we've been trying to run at as a company, which is around 60%. What's great is that is not a common challenge or a problem in the financial services. So that growth that we're doing is one of those good problems to have. Business strategy and operations to align those, I think there's a middle point there that a lot of these conferences and the PEX conferences are wonderful at, which is really identifying the capabilities that lie in the middle. There's a lot of organizations that will stay strategy. There's a lot of organizations that will get very tactical. What's the challenge and what needs to be done is to identify the capabilities that bridge the two. And that's where I think people that are leading continuous improvement, if you can quantify those capabilities, what do the people need, what do the processes need, what does technology need, and risk and compliance for financial services. If you can address that, those capabilities will then allow you to transform. And I think that's the key. Change happens multiple ways in our organization. There's strategy. Obviously, there's the large portfolios, the majority of your capital dollars. That's very well structured, controlled decision at the top of the house. Then there is a lot of bottoms-up, just do it change, which is a guidance to people that are on the floor doing their own workplace workouts. And then there's the area that I always like to play in myself, which is in the middle, unless I'm running and owning PMOs, which is really how do you make your business lines, how do you help them get to their business case and over-deliver. A lot of that comes in with the transformational engineering, using Lean, Six Sigma, robotics, etc. And that's the change that I think a lot of companies miss. And a lot of it can be prioritized, some of it can't for the year, and then what you end up doing is prioritizing that into the next year. So, you know, it's kind of a roundabout question, but change, there's multiple avenues. It's not a one shoe fits. I think the greatest challenge to all this is always the cultural imperative. Every company always has a culture. Most people, change is not a natural thing for them. And I think even when you look at it too, even the practitioners of continuous improvement, sometimes the cobbler's kids don't have shoes. They have a hard time adapting to change. And I think with listening to robotics and how fast that's picking up in the industry, Lean Six Sigma needs to adapt and look at that as a new tool set. So that cultural imperative to overcome it is really the largest challenge that is always out there to overcome. It's not necessarily the problem, it's not necessarily the tools, it's how do you overcome culture. Building and sustaining a continuous improvement culture, the 3 tips I would have, and I'm not going to get into tools or methods, I'm going to consider those a must-have. The people driving this, they have the engineering tools to do it, whether it's Lean, Six Sigma, etc. The big thing that has to be done is wins. There has to be wins, which means if you're working on something that will not have an outcome in a year and a half, that's a challenge. Break that down into segmented wins. I think one of the big takeaways is make sure you can show business return every quarter. Make sure you can show people saying positive things, get your press clippings out there, and then always make sure that there's a draw. There should be more demand than you have capacity in a continuous improvement organization. So I think that's one is the wins. The second one is quantifying benefits. And they got to be benefits to who's writing the checks for continuous improvement, growth, and expansion. So it's got to be in dollars. Convert productivity to dollars. Convert volume to dollars. Convert errors to dollars. That's another key. And then finally, I think if you want to maintain this, you have to have thick skin. I mean, you're driving change. You have to be persistent. And if you're not persistent and if you do not accept the fact that people are always going to find reasons why something shouldn't happen. It may not be the career path you want to take. So persistence is a big one. Harnessing the power of people, process, and technology, if you think about it, they have to be balanced. I think many organizations run towards tech. Other organizations will run towards people, and then other organizations may overdo the process. You got to balance all three. And there's a reason bar stools have 3 legs. They always balance, doesn't matter what type of floor you're on. I think that's the big takeaway, is you have to balance the 3 and keep that in the back of your mind on everything you do. So the process excellence events are great because, one, it's very seldom does people that are practitioners or leaders get a chance to come together in a forum. And what's nice is having a blend of leaders and the practitioners. I think the more leaders that come to these events, the better. There's a lot of practitioners that are always here, but people at a leadership level are the ones making the decisions as to how you're going to go about continuous improvement. What's great with the process excellence in financial services, and what I've seen over the last 2 years, and I've been monitoring it for a while, is the robotics. What's interesting to me is how it's becoming truly operational. So it was theory, it was some test beds for a while. There was always a lot of talk of Lean, Six Sigma, IT, automation, but what's interesting to me right now is how it's all coming together and it's getting to an operational state. What this is telling me is we're going to have to start changing the CI skill sets. People need to adapt this new tool. They need to understand how this is different than business analyst, a Lean practitioner, a Six Sigma type master black belt. And I think the Process Excellence Conference keeps bringing that to light and showing through use cases and presentations that people are getting big results. It's no longer just talk. It's no longer the status quo, total quality management, Six Sigma, etc. And I think that's where the process excellence forums like this are so powerful.